I want to talk about you. What's the next chapter in your life?
Help Donald Trump straighten out the federal government. I can smell the crooked politicians. They have a certain odor.
A lot of people say you drink too much.
Oh, geez, Doc.
You're disbarred, indicted, have huge multi-million-dollar judgments against you. Is there anything you would do different?
That's a really good question.
Is there a chance you're going to wind up in prison? So how did Rudy Giuliani, who once stood as a symbol of resilience and leadership, find himself entangled in a web of legal battles, controversy, and personal bankruptcy? The rise and fall and the future of Rudy Giuliani continues now. What do you do from here forward? How can you have the biggest impact on America going forward?
You know, I always lived in this little dream world, like I think a lot of us do. I've done a lot of different things, and most of them in the last 50 years have been in public life, either as a law enforcement officer, a mayor. My private business was mostly security. I did security for the country in Russia that's getting attacked the most, Kharkiv. Half the people I work with there are dead. I'm not completely in favor of the Ukraine war, but I'm not completely against it either. It draws my emotions like crazy. Those people were the bravest people I had ever met in Kharkiv. They were former Russian-oriented Ukrainians right on the border of Russia that in 2014 were double-crossed by Putin. And he came in and they would have surrendered to him. They liked him. They'd have surrendered to him. And he started wiping them out to teach them a lesson beforehand. The mayor, who was a pal of his, told him to stop. And he sent him a message saying, when you're in the grave. The guy was a military guy. He developed an army against the Russians, got no help. This one would give him no help. Fought off the Russians by himself, became the biggest hero of the Mayor Kearns, his name was, lost both his legs. When I met him, he was in a wheelchair. He died before the Second War. But he's left them like, and if you read about this, Russia from the beginning of this new one has been trying to invade Kharkiv. And every time they get in, the Kharkiv people throw them out. Most of them are Russians. Most of the people in Kharkiv are Russians, not Ukrainian. They become Ukrainian.
I want to talk about you. What do you want to do from here forward? What's the next chapter in your life?
Help Donald Trump straighten out the federal government.
And how can you do that? What role will you take in doing that?
Well, I offered him a role last time when I incorrectly thought he was going to win. I'm talking about 2020. So you can hire me for about a year as a special assistant, and I'll go around and I'll get rid of all of the people who are going to double-cross you. I'm good at that. I did that in my own administration. I got rid of 4,000 people, ultimately 12. I'm good at that because I'm a really good investigator. That's my best thing. And in New York, I can smell the crooked politicians. I mean, they have a certain odor. I mean, I put so many of them in jail. When I show up, they start to emit the odor. If you want to know about these people who hate me outside New York, it's nothing. The ones in New York, and every once in a while I get a really funny one. I had a woman come up to me a couple months ago and she said, "You put my Uncle Tony in jail." And I didn't know what to expect. I'm all by myself. She got 2 guys with her. I'm saying, oh. She said, "We never got to thank you. Would you like to come over for dinner?" I said, "No, I don't think that'd be appropriate."
I got a question for you, and then I want you to tell us all about your new book. When I look at your life and I go back, I mean, you're on the cover of Time as Person of the Year. And I think back to 9/11. It was a year before I launched DrPhil in 2002. We launched it on 9/11 the next year. And I watched what you did. This country could have gone in a lot different direction, and there could have been a lot of widespread panic. And I thought a lot of the unification of this country was because of what you did in those streets in those days afterwards. And I started out by saying how much I appreciated what you did back then, how much I admired what you did back then. And now, after that, I would have bet everything I could gather that you would soon be president of the United States. But now, at this point in your life, you're disbarred, indicted, have huge multi-million-dollar judgments against you, ridiculed by people. Your approval rating has dropped from the highest of almost any leader in this country to among the lowest. Is there anything you would do different? Is there anything you would change?
That's a really good question. And maybe it's an inadequacy of mine that I can't think of one that I would do differently, because I know a lot of people say this, but I look in the mirror every day and I pray every night. And I think I do what I think is right in the same way that I did 25 years ago, except the numbers have changed and the success of the other side has changed in getting unbelievably strong control of the narrative, even stronger than those of us who think we resist the narrative, think we have. I think they've brainwashed us in a way that Marx and Engels and Stalin and Z would be proud of. I mean, how can I be fairly judged by a country that is led by people who give a parade in San Francisco for Xi Jinping, have Chinese people participating in the parade, thousands, led by Nancy Pelosi and approved by Harris, led very much by Newsom. I'm sure Mr. 30 times China was there, who's running for vice president.
But have they won and you lost?
But wait. And they're having them cheer him. It's unthinkable that 40 or 50 years ago, we'd have had a parade like that for Hitler or for Stalin. This man has killed more people than them. They adore him, and they hate us who are telling you the truth about us and want to destroy. Isn't this battle bigger? That Giuliani is just one. Get rid of him. He's just one guy. They have not won the battle yet.
Listen,
but they're winning it.
I can't tell you the number of death threats that I get and have gotten for saying that our elite universities are fostering intellectual rot by allowing this anti-Semitic and pro-Palestinian demonstrations on our campuses.
Right.
And I've been to Israel. I've interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu. I've interviewed President Trump. I've talked about these things, that our values have spun out of control by the fact that we're allowing that kind of rhetoric and calling it education. I couldn't agree with you more. My point is, if they have succeeded in marginalizing your voice, have they won by marginalizing you, by getting you so agitated and so riled that you haven't been president, that you aren't able to command the kind of respect and focus to deliver the message that you're talking about?
Well, they foiled me in being president before this all started, so we can't count that. Have they reduced the number of people that admire me and follow me? Maybe yes, or maybe they increased it. I don't know. I do know that I only have one way of winning it, and that is proving the truth of what I consider my cause, their cause. Until we're honest about who they are and what they've done to people, we won't be fixed. I remember when I first got involved in this, I didn't believe they were as bad as they turned out to be. And I think an awful lot of other people are back where I used to be. They're not as bad as they turned out to be. And I'm a particular target because I'm particularly dangerous. It isn't a whole number of people that develop the criminal information on Joe Biden. It was there for 30 years. There's only one person who found it, and that's me. It was given to me by an intermediary with John Mac Isaacs because no one else that John would give it to had the guts to go with it. I went to a very distinguished United States senator and asked him if he would do it, and he said no, he wouldn't do it to another senator. I'm the sole reason that the information came out in the first place. I gave it to, eventually, the FBI didn't want it. I gave it to Hannity and to John Solomon, so I'd have some allies. Then I gave it to the State Department, and the head of the State Department, who wants to be president, was afraid to go forward with it. Then when I finally got the hard drive, which proved that everything I was giving them a year and a half earlier was true, they basically, that's when they started. Well, actually, the FBI started to follow me the day I made my first allegation against Biden. So they followed me and took my iCloud account for 3 to 4 years and have done everything to try to destroy me. The thing about my being an alcoholic, which is completely untrue, it's a rumor that they started. I'm not even going to mention 100 others that never stuck. I don't know that anybody has a proper understanding of how pervasive and effective Chinese, particularly, and Russian propaganda is. When they gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award, part of it says that I prosecuted the most significant cases they had in the 20th century. So if I go to the old FBI agents, I would say 80% are on my side. They know what I'm telling you is true. They know that this is completely false. Now, maybe I could have been more subtle. Maybe.
Well, so I'm asking you, there's nothing you would change to get to a different place.
I don't know what I would have done to get me to a different place. Maybe a different person with more skill at being diplomatic, but maybe if I had that skill at being diplomatic, I'd have gotten scared the way a lot of them did. Mm-hmm. You know, there's some.
Do you think there's a chance?
Like some people say to me, "You were crazy to do all this." Well, it's true. So nobody else would do it, but somebody was crazy.
Is there a chance you're going to wind up in prison?
Yeah, I can handle it. I got great applause when I went to the prison. I did. When I went down to the prison in Georgia, this is before they found out about Fanny's extracurricular activities. They were all applauding me and telling me what to do with her. I can't tell you what they were telling me. But they didn't like Fanny and they liked Trump and me. They were applauding like crazy. Then Trump won the next day. I went the first day to sort of see how bad things were, and Trump got even a bigger round of applause. I don't know what that is. That got me nervous. But the honest truth is, I don't think I'll be going to prison. See, he's leaving now because he's afraid I might go to prison. No, but I don't think I'll go to prison. I think the two cases that would, Fanny's case is one of them, that would send me to prison. That case has got to go. The other one is the one in Arizona where they were going to indict the president, but they pulled him out at the last minute because they thought they were now helping. They thought by indicting him so much, they were helping him. So they pulled him out. And that case I know the least about. I also should tell you that it wasn't my main role to get those electors. That was somebody else's theory, and I helped out, but it wasn't my main role.
When does the book come out?
Book should come out in about a month and a half.
And this is the Biden crime family.
It really lays out, like I would do as a lawyer, what an easy trial this would be. If you wanted to prove that they took about $51 million in bribes, which is the most bribe money anybody could even think about. Like now that I go back over my old cases that were legendary, I'm embarrassed. They were doing 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. It was like chump change. I think they're going to come out of the grave and haunt me. Like Vice President Agnew took $4,000 in the White House. Biden must be there laughing, $4,000.
So this is the Biden crime family, and it is the blueprint for their prosecution.
This was done when I thought I would get a chance to prosecute him, but maybe now I can do the rest of the family. It might be easier to prosecute with him not in it because the political part of it is, out of it. But that case would have about 20 defendants. They all participated in it. You don't make 50 million and you just make it by yourself. The key piece of evidence is Hunter saying, I gave 50% of my salary for 35 years to my father and paid all of the expenses of the house. But that's just the beginning of it. One last example that I always thought was very critical. Biden was making a big deal out of, I never talked to my son about his foreign dealings. In 35 years, I never talked to my son, and I never talked to my brothers, and I never talked to... Meanwhile, they're making millions, and they're a close family. All of a sudden, he gets a this is mostly text messages and emails. It's not mostly telephone calls. But they also do have some telephone calls that were left on telephone messages. And there's one that Joe calls his son the night of a Times article outlining all of Hunter's alleged illegal dealings in China. Joe leaves a message saying, I read the article. Immediately, there goes the lie. I didn't know anything about his foreign dealings. He read the article. He just found out all about his foreign dealings. And don't worry, I think you escaped it. But we'll talk in more detail tomorrow. So the escape it, you can do your own interpretation about. That sounds to me an awful lot like the way gangsters talk. You know, don't worry, we escaped it. But the first part is deadly because he says that for 30 years, and nobody believes it anyway. So you don't need a lot of proof to prove it. Even when I argue with Biden people over this, they say, well, he has to say that. But saying that is what's called a false exculpatory statement. And that would hurt a lot at a trial. And then, of course, then when you bring in all the evidence of the 30 or 40 people he had dinner with, he's got little notes in his accounts in which he says that was a great dinner with some Chinese communist spy. I really had a good time with Bettina Baturina, who gave him $3.5 million. She's the biggest female oligarch in Russia, and she's the only one who's never been sanctioned, even though she's way up on the list. But she threw in $3.5 million.
And all this is covered in the book. You talk about all
of this is covered in the book, covered in the hard drive. So the book is a combination of what I obtained before the hard drive, where I was on my own, and then what's in the hard drive, which is, much more easily believable and provable because it doesn't just come from me and my witnesses.
Right.
And the two things completely match together. And also, the thing that should eventually be investigated that maybe is not even more important than why did they cover it up? Why did the FBI cover it up for 16 months? Why did Bill Barr cover it up? Does the fact that they covered it up, what kind of confidence does it give you in their ability to investigate the attempted assassination of the president? And worries the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Worries the hell out of me. My partner, Bernie Kerik, came to me a year and a half ago, and I have a closer relationship with the president than he does, although he loves him too. And he said to me, you got to go talk to him and tell him, they've done everything else. You and I know criminals. We've had to deal with them all his life. He doesn't. These people are capable of killing him. They want this so badly. I said, I know that, Bernie. He said, does he know it? I said, I think he does. He said, well, go talk to him about it. And I did. And he does know. But, what do you do? He wants to be president. You can't go run in a basement and win. Well, unless you fix it.
No, don't need to fix it. Thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
The book is The Biden Crime Family, The Blueprint for Their Prosecution. It's available on pre-order right now on Amazon. I want to thank you at home for finding us here on Merritt Street Media. We'll have even more information about tonight's show on our website, so make sure to log on to drphil.com. Tell all your friends what's going on, because we're talking about things that matter to people who care here on Merritt Street Media. All you need to do is download our Merritt Plus app by going to Apple Store or Google Play. It's that simple. And to be a Merritt Street Insider, just text me at 59627. Just simply type Phil, and we'll keep you posted on everything that's going on every step of the way.